Hello and welcome to
WhoNoob
and WhoVeteran, the show that includes me, Eugene, a Doctor Who veteran.
and me, a newbie to Doctor Who. Since when? Since Peter Capaldi came in. Yeah. And my real name's Russell.
Cool. Anyway, so today we are reviewing episode 6 of series 9, which means we're exactly halfway through the series now. That went fast.
This is going real quick.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to work it out. I think it probably goes fast too because we've had lots of doubles, like two-parters, so it feels earlier. Yeah.
But yeah, so episode 6, The Woman Who Lived, written by Catherine Tregenna.
Tregenna is the one.
I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Yes, she is a Catherine.
Has she written any others before?
She hasn't written anything for Doctor Who before. This is her first Doctor Who script, but she has written for stuff inside the Doctor Who universe before. She's written 4 episodes of Torchwood.
Oh, cool.
Which, if you're unfamiliar, Torchwood is an R-rated Doctor Who spin-off show that lasted for 4 series. And it was... Series 1 and 2 were a mixed bag, Series 3 was freaking awesome, Series 4 let's forget about. That's Torchwood.
It was real bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Catherine Tregenna, she wrote some great episodes for Torchwood. Some really great episodes. So I was excited to see her first attempt at Doctor Who itself, and...
I think she did alright.
Me too. I think she did very, very, very well.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I liked it. I really liked it. I feel like I'm underplaying that. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. Should I start going through the notes? Through my questions and things?
Yeah, have you got questions?
Yeah, I do. Well, it's kind of got answered. I wrote this at the very beginning when he was walking around with that radar thing, and I wrote, "What is the radar thing?" And then he explained it with that awesome line where he's like, "This is a whatchamacallit tracker." Oh, I've just worked out why it's called what it's called. Anyway, but has that tracker been in it before?
I don't believe so. He's used so many similar gadgets like that over the years, though it's kind of hard to keep track of all of them.
Like James Bond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Couple good lines that I really liked in it. "I live in the world you left behind," which was said by Macy Williams.
And then also the line just a bit after that, you didn't save my life, you trapped me inside it.
Yeah.
That was a cool line.
Yeah, there's some very good lines. So good work, Catherine Tregenna?
Yeah, I think so.
Tregenna.
It's just called a Catherine.
Catherine. Kathy. Call it Kath. Question as well, the Lion Man, or his sort of race, have they been in it before? Have they come along?
Not specifically that race, but there's been a lot of very similar races. There was a race of humanoid cat nurse nuns back in 2 episodes, one in series 2 and one in series 3.
Wow.
And then way back in season...
Cats nurse nuns?
Yeah.
And were they bad nurse nuns?
In the series 2 episode they were, in the series 3 episode they weren't.
I guess cats are like that.
And then the other time we had cat-like people was way back in season 26 of the classic series, hence why it's a larger number. But anyway, in the final story of season 26, which was also the final story of Classic Who in general, called Survival, there was a race called the Cheetah People. Inventive name, I know.
The cheetah people.
But they were still cool, and again, they were cheetahs that looked like humans. Cool. Survival's quite a brutal little episode, really.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's the Doctor in that?
Sylvester McCoy, the 7th Doctor. Quite brutal, really. All about, well, survival. Big shock.
Cool. Very cool. One thing which I was confused and didn't necessarily like about the episode, it wasn't that big a deal because we got the gist of it.
Yeah.
But how did the Lion Man die?
How did he die? Well, he said, "My people will destroy me for this," or something like that. "Spare me, my brothers," and then they killed him, I guess.
So yeah, that's what I sort of guessed, but
He
it
got
wasn't
killed.
very clear. It was very
Rushed.
rushed. It felt real
It
rushed.
was rushed. Yeah, the ending was a bit rushed. I feel not too bad. I don't think it ruined the episode or anything.
No, that's not but yeah, if it had been a bit longer, it could have been quite exciting.
Because people also complained that at the end, Maisie Williams' realization that she cares is a bit too quick.
Yeah.
I don't actually feel that.
I felt
because
I don't know if it was too quick. I just don't know if it was played off well enough. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it was Maisie Williams that was
at fault.
At fault. I don't know what was at fault, but something just didn't feel right about that little scene. It was like
too many jump cuts.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of worked though, because, she thinks she doesn't care, and then all of a sudden there's fire raining down from the sky. There's a big massive portal and everyone's running around and screaming. That kind of would suddenly jolt your perspective, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but
something so big as that.
I guess, but it would have been good to really see that moment. That's what I think was missing. Was it would have worked better if we actually saw that moment where she goes, "God, what have I done?"
Yeah, I feel like the director, Ed Basil, I believe his name is, the director of this episode. I feel like he didn't quite capture that or really film it right. He tried to make it all feel hectic and actiony, whereas he should have more played up the drama, I feel like, rather than the action.
Yeah.
And he also should have shown the Lion Man actually killing people more.
Yeah,
because we didn't actually really see him kill anyone. We just saw him push them over.
Blood,
no blood. No blood.
Okay, no
because
blood.
Doctor Who's not rated R, but it would have been cool though to actually see him get down and out of shot be eating them or whatever and breathing fire onto people.
Burning to a crisp.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see a bit more of that, whereas we didn't because so many jump cuts.
And a bit of blood. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. And another question which sort of came up and was kind of I don't know, it was kind of pick the elephant in the room. It was a line that came up and it's that's obviously
a reference.
Yeah. Captain Jack Harkness.
Harkness.
Oh, I've heard it wrong. Harkness. Yeah. Who is this person?
Who is Captain Jack Harkness?
Yeah.
Well, he's the main protagonist of Torchwood.
Oh.
And he was also a companion in Series 1, and then he came back a bit for Series 3, and then again for Series 4, and then made a cameo in the 2010 New Year special. Yeah.
Is in what special? The
2010 New Year special.
For who?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, and he's immortal, like Maisie Williams was. Which is why I feel like it was very fitting to have a Torchwood writer write this episode, because Maisie Williams is kind of a bit of a similar character to Jack, but approached very differently though. So, but it just kind of makes sense to get a Torchwood writer onto this episode, considering the similar subject matter.
Yeah.
So I thought
she was probably writing her and go, I know what I will do. I'm going to reference Torchwood.
Yeah. Well, the way how the Doctor says it, how he says, he'll get round to you eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost wonder if that almost isn't supposed to be somewhat directed at the audience, that line, and it's hinting, we've secretly got him back for an episode later this series.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me being overly optimistic.
Is he a cool character?
Yeah. Everyone wants him to come back.
Yeah.
Everyone, including me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's my question. I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it too. So
you want to go through?
Okay, so first up with my thoughts. What did you think at the start where she did the thing with her voice?
It was weird. I think because we watched it a second time. The second time knowing it was her made it feel weirder.
Yeah.
Not knowing it was her. Because at the first time I thought it was a guy. Do you know what I mean?
I knew it was her from the get-go,
because
I could recognise her facial features even under the mask.
Yeah.
And plus trailers.
Yeah.
So it was weird for me both times.
Yeah, well, yeah, the first time, but it was weird when she said, lots of practice, or what, when he asked her, how did you do that, you know,
Yeah.
and that was kind of weird, but
I
I didn't mind it too much.
Yeah, me neither. It didn't detract from the episode at all.
Mm.
It was just kind of... I just thought that they would end up explaining it in a different way later, with having it that it was like the Lion Man, like, talking over her to make it sound more threatening or something.
Well, is there something about, didn't she say 10,000 hours of practice makes you great at something?
And 100,000 makes
you the best.
Yeah.
So
maybe she's just spent ages practicing. Yeah. Well, she has lived long enough.
You're gonna get bored, you know. It's gonna be like.
I will kind of let it pass as I'm like, who knows how good you can get at changing your voice if you've lived that long. But also at the same time, like, is that actually physically possible though? So,
yeah, probably isn't.
Yeah.
But
we'll let it slide.
Yeah, we'll let it slide. It's who.
So.
It's like Sonic glasses. Are they physically possible?
Yeah, the Sonic glasses. That they got broken last week. You know, they're back this week.
Yeah.
It's like they're so flimsy. Build a screwdriver again.
He just did, because it was like,
he snapped, the Viking snapped him last week.
He didn't even try. It was like, you know.
And they rebuilt them. Why rebuild them? They were proven to be unpractical. Keep sunglasses. You sued sunglasses, but
just buy a pair from the store. You know?
Yeah, have normal sunglasses and a sonic screwdriver. Yeah. That's how we want it. Series 10.
Yeah, she seems to sort it out.
Yeah. And what did you think of No Kara being in this episode? I quite liked it. I thought it was a change of pace.
As much as I love Clara, it was refreshing.
Yeah, it was refreshing.
Because I mean, otherwise it's just, don't get me wrong, I know the story's a little different, but you feel like you're watching the same thing, do you know what I mean, over and over. These two people trying to solve a problem together each week, you know, and it was kind of good. And I like how they sort of just threw it away. It was kind of like, how he says about my companion being taking the Year 7s on a, what was it?
Some karate class.
Some karate class. I like how he sort of just, it was just in there quickly out of the way, you know? No big, they didn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah, but then there was that cool bit later on where me, Ashilda, whatever we're calling her, you know, asks, you know, how many Karas have there been? You know, that was cool. And there was no dialogue, just a look from Capaldi and a shift in the music. And that's much more effective than actually like trying to, you know, have dialogue to explain that. Okay, well, let's see, there was my granddaughter, there was Barbara, there was Ian, there was Polly, there was Ben, there was Dodo, there was, let's see, Jamie, there was Zoe, there was Victoria, there was...
The credits start because we've run out of time.
But yeah, it was refreshing not to have Kara in this episode, though I am actually liking Kara this series, surprisingly. I didn't used to like Kara, and I was unhappy about the fact that she was coming back this series, but so far this series I've been liking her, so I've done a bit of a 180. Okay, so, next thing, title sequence is in sync. 3 weeks in a row. We're on a roll. We're on a roll.
Oh yeah.
Keep it up.
Right. Yeah.
Keep it up. I feel like there should have been perhaps another episode between this week and last week, because it just felt kind of staged, going straight from last week to this week, and like the Doctor having stumbled upon her.
It would have separated out of it, you know, like, and then it would have been also less. Well, I guess the trailers don't help, but it would have been less obvious that was her at the beginning too. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Yeah, I agree, and it'd just been better if we had next week's story for this week. It's like, oh, look who we managed to run across, you know, out of all the people we could run across.
Again, Series 8 had the same problem where, you know, you had the caretaker where Danny's like, if the Doctor pushes you too far, let me know. The very next week, the Doctor pushed her too far and she let Danny know. There should have been an episode between there to make it feel more natural and less like a TV show.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Make it more believable.
Yeah, because it's not a TV show, it's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But they ain't really a problem with this episode, really. It's a problem more of just the way the series has been structured. I don't hold that against this episode, more against the series, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a point of the series as a whole, but not a point of this episode.
Yeah.
There was a reference to the Visitation, where you mentioned that the Fire of London was started by the pterodactyls. That's a callback to an old 80s episode.
Ah, okay.
And that was one of the very first episodes I ever saw, The Visitation, so that was cool to have that little callback there. That was very cool. Sam Swift was funny. He was a likeable character, added some nice levity to it.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was like
his name.
There was nothing too serious about him, which was.
It was nice, yeah, and you were kind of like, worried that he was going to die at the end there because I started to come to like him.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, it's good to have your, deep, in-depth characters that you can look at and say, this character's great because there's so many layers, but sometimes it's good just to have
a fun character.
Yeah,
Although, that does bring me to one thing though when he comes back to life. This is 2 episodes in a row where people have come back to life.
Yeah.
Next week, we gotta have some
die.
Get us attached to some characters and kill them off.
Kill them off, get rid of them.
The problem is that next week has Osgood in it, and remember she died in the series final last year. So...
So what...
we'll see.
So maybe we're going to have more people come back to life and nobody die.
I hope not.
We're going to have a negative body count.
Hopefully next week's episode is set before Death in Heaven. Because time travel. And so the Doctor knows that she's going to die in the future. Because of his failing, and then it's like this drama about him having to deal with it. Because he can't change it because the laws of time.
But then didn't he say in last week's one, he's like, I'm the Doctor, and he changes things, he started going on about him.
And then he immediately regretted it, remember?
Yeah, true.
So...
Yeah.
And the time before that he did something like that, it kinda... resulted in him going a bit
crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
like
best not to break the laws of time. Next thing really to talk about is, of course, the big attraction of this whole episode. And that is, of course, the accurate representation of the time period. They had some nice throwbacks to the Black Plague, which was about, 200 years before this episode was set, I think. They mentioned the 100-year war. They accurately saw the value of money back then with those guards and how £30 was so much better than £20 and was totally worth betraying someone over. It's a good representation of the times. It's both funny and entertaining. The money bit, not the children dying of the plague. That was dramatic and intense and made me want to cry. But nevertheless, it was all still entertaining though. But yet at the same time educated you about the time period, which is how historical episodes of her should be, and I feel like there was a tiny bit lost last week, so thumbs up, Catherine, thumbs up. Yeah, so there we go, that's our thoughts on this episode. What's your conclusion? Oh wait, hang on, that's right, Maisie Williams. That's right, that's the big attraction.
I was gonna say, yeah. Maisie Williams, what did you think?
Okay, Maisie Williams, so I liked her last week. I said that I found her to be a very likeable character. I liked her performance. But ultimately, still Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, though, were still the real stars of last week, though. This week, Jenna Coleman, of course, was Betty in it, so it was really Peter Capaldi and Maisie Williams this week. I have to say, Maisie Williams, age 18, she's only 2 years older than me, was managing to not only hold her own, but perhaps even somewhat steal the scenes that she had with Peter Capaldi. A 57-year-old actor who's won an Oscar. Holy swear word.
Yeah, no,
she was good in this episode, and just she was so different from last week.
Yeah.
One great characterization, and I like this more dark approach to immortality than, say, Jack, who was very oh, cool, I get to live forever. Whereas, this was a much more intense look at immortality. And also, her performance, it was she would, in the space of 5 minutes, film a scene from episode 5, and then film a scene from this episode. And yet she manages to be so different. It's Man, I hope I improve my acting skills that much over the next 2 years.
She no, she's very good. I also some of the moments she had like without dialogue, you know, and you could see her processing what the doctor had said, and you knew how she had a moment where you could see how she felt about what the doctor had said, and then when she actually turned to respond to the doctor, she'd changed.
Yeah.
She didn't want the doctor to see that, you know, and she did that really well, I thought.
Yeah, it was just
moments like that were really good.
I could probably do a whole analysis video on her performance throughout these 2 episodes, really.
Yeah, because you
sort
can
of
look at
analysing her character. I feel like this.
and the strength in her character. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she has grown up. You know, she's
Yeah,
compared to last week and this week, you can see how much she's grown. You know, which is great. Really strong.
yeah. But yeah, Maisie Williams, she was great in this as Ashilda / Lady Me, and yeah, I don't really want to go too much into her character simply because there's so much stuff I could say about her that this video could end up being like an hour long. So yeah, she's great, and we also they just confirmed that she's back in episode 10 as well.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So
Oh,
great. I want to see more of her. I want to see what they're going to do with her, and please, oh please, I know she does Game of Thrones, but can we figure out some way that she can be a companion for the next couple of series?
That'd be cool.
And that would be great, because so far in New Who we've only had normal Earth mortal girls travel with the Doctor since the show came back in 2005, so it'll be really great to have someone who's from the past rather than the present day, and someone who is immortal and a little bit alien travelling with the Doctor, because there'll be such a different dynamic, and it's exactly what I think the show needs right now. She's a great actress, and please, make it happen. Even if it's just for one series, I want her as the companion.
Do it.
Please.
Make it happen.
Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
How about the end with Clara?
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. The only thing to add really is that they're making it so obvious that Clara's gonna die. Seriously, the foreshadowing is not exactly subtle here. I almost have to think that they're not going to kill her off and just have her leave normally, because they're so heavily trying to make us think she's going to die. They're like, actually, she gets a happy ending, which would suck. She needs to die because there hasn't been enough death in the show of late. So we need characters that we like to get killed off, so that Doctor Who can return to being a horribly brutal, nasty, violent little show that it used to be, despite marketing itself as a family show.
I wanted to live.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like it too, so I want it to live, but I want it to die so that the show actually has a sense of stake and danger to it.
Fair enough.
Because, you know, Doctor Who markets itself as a family show, but it used to anyway, have a ridiculously high body count for a family show. It had a huge body count. Go back and watch some episodes from the 80s, you have people's hands being crushed with blood going everywhere, and people being stabbed. Yeah, now people get turned into dust and come back to life anyway, and it's like, come on, give us more of that gruesome, violent brutalness that used to make the show feel so tense and dangerous. But, yeah, anyway, great episode. My score for this episode, so Catherine, Kath, for your first attempt at writing for Doctor Who, your fifth attempt for writing something in the Doctor Who universe, but first for the show itself, you knocked it out of the park like you did with all your tortured scripts. Just, yeah, this was probably my favourite episode of the series so far.
Yep.
It's probably my favourite episode of the last few series even. This is probably the best episode we've had since 2011, in my opinion.
Wow.
Which is why, for the first time in WhoNoob and WhoVeteran, I'm going to give this episode the score of 10.
10 out of 10. Wow. Wowee. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, there are a few little nitpicks, but that's all they were. They didn't actually impact the quality of the actual story, in my opinion. It was just, it was just so engaging and so much depth and subtext and layers to that whole dynamic between the Doctor and her, and just, yeah, I was hooked from beginning to end, and there are things I can nitpick, but at the end of the day, I think this is definitely the best episode Capaldi's had so far. Definitely. But yeah, now that I've set that high for you, what are you going to score it?
Well, I'm going to go one higher. No, I'm kidding.
11?
I'm kidding.
How's that possible?
I really liked it. It is my favourite episode so far.
Of the series or the show in general?
I don't know about the show in general.
Flatline was your favourite from last series.
Flatline, I'll have to watch Flatline again. So
Okay.
and compare. But I'm going to give this a 9. 9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10. I scored higher again!
You did.
Yes! That's 2 episodes so far this series where I scored higher. It's so refreshing, because last series I tended to score lower than you, so...
A lot lower too.
A lot lower, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so refreshing to be positive about the show again.
Yeah.
But don't worry, that's probably going to change next week, because next week is written by Peter Harness.
Not a fan?
He wrote Kill the Moon.
Peter Harness.
Yeah. And then the week after that is written by Peter Harness again, and Stephen Moffat.
Oh.
So, if this series...
Who knows? He might.
Yeah, I hope he pulls through. I hope Peter Harness does a good job next week, because it's Zygons. And my god, as a long-time Doctor Who fan, I've wanted Zygons back for ages. Sure, they're in the...
Zygons?
You'll find out next week.
I'll find
But
out next week.
they're in the 50th anniversary special, but that was really more of a glorified cameo. Really, they've only had the one story back in 1975? Yeah. So they need their second story. Their second on-screen story. There are some awesome books and Big Finish audios of them. So thank you for watching, and see you all next week for the Zygon Invasion.
See you then.